Polygon Matic is very expensive right now. The Matic token relative to other smart contract platforms is very expensive. It's highly valued. And that's not necessarily something I like to say, because normally these kind of bearish videos, they do get a lot of thumbs down. For example, recently, right, I made a video on Gamium that was 4.5 days ago, and I said, do not buy Gamium, and it got 30% thumbs down. Usually I only get like less than 4%, but the price, it did go down, right? So people don't like when you tell them that their investment might potentially go down in price. That's why you get all these YouTube chillers, right? Whenever you have a YouTuber that says, hey, this project is going through the roof, and everybody gives thumbs up. And that's also what then the YouTube algorithm spreads around. So objectivity is not necessarily optimizing for the YouTube algorithm, but still I think it's very important, especially over the long term, right? If you're currently bullish on Polygon Matic, you definitely want to watch this video of relative valuation so that you get hopefully a more objective view on something, right? That you can balance the pros and the cons. So let's look at this, right? Let's look at the very first relative valuation chart. And this is Matic measured in Bitcoin, because Bitcoin in the end leads the crypto market. So I want to look at this, right? Is Polygon Matic going to outperform or underperform Bitcoin? And we have lines here that have been drawn in prior videos. So this is not my very first Polygon Matic video. And we can see this pretty much played out exactly as we expected with this arrow. And it really doesn't take rocket science to draw this arrow over here, right? We simply just bounce off this resistance. Now we are rather underperforming, and the potential underperformance from the current price to the next support could be 60%, right? Or even 65%. So you don't have to make it super fancy. You don't have to draw any Elliott waves. You don't have to draw Wyckoff distribution patterns, things like this. The easiest technical analysis, the most obvious technical analysis, is normally also the most robust. And currently this looks not so great versus Ethereum, versus Bitcoin. Now let's look at Matic versus Ethereum. Not that different, right? A similar arrow again, and here we are going to draw again a rather bearish arrow. So Matic currently relative to Ethereum tends to be expensive as well. It could also go down by like 53%, maybe all the way down to 56% underperformance, which simply means that if you hold Ethereum now over the next months rather than Polygon Matic, you might have double the capital, relatively speaking. They both might go down, right? Nobody knows where the US dollar valuations go, because overall there is a lot of macroeconomic impacts on things, right? If interest rates go up and down, of course, relative valuations get also impacted from this, but mainly the US dollar valuation gets impacted on this, right? When interest rates go down, then Bitcoin goes up, then stocks goes up, then Polygon Matic goes up. But what's most important is when you're trading cryptocurrency, you want to always go with the waves, right? And you want to allocate your capital to things that are currently comparatively cheap, but that will survive over the long term. And you want to sell the things that are comparatively expensive. And currently, Polygon Matic does look expensive. There are positive fundamentals, obviously, that also underpin this high valuation. But still, we very often see these waves. For the fundamentals, by the way, there will be another video just coming after that, right? So there was Siemens, a very large German corporation that just issued bonds on the Polygon blockchain. Very interesting development. But still, right, simply just relatively speaking, Matic has to be seen as expensive. This is Matic relative to BNB, and the same thing is true here. Everywhere we see these sideways trading ranges. And this is now a potential underperformance versus BNB of 35, or in the very worst scenario, also 55%. That's pretty consistent, right? No matter what you look at, Matic seems to be overvalued by roughly a 2x, right? When it can go down by 50%. Matic versus Solana, also very interesting. I would not necessarily get into Solana, even though this looks like a pretty consistent outperformance. But yeah, Solana does have its fundamental issues after the FTX collapse. So even though the relative valuation here would imply that Matic could fall the most versus Solana, you would also have to argue that Solana has the same fundamental strong basis as Polygon Matic, and that's clearly not the case, right? Solana is in big trouble. It always goes down. It has all the FTX support gone, and a lot of the decentralized exchanges also have a problem. Matic over the long term tends to outperform Cardano. So this is now Matic relative to Cardano. And what do I show you here? A 60% underperformance. So this is the problem with Matic. Usually, when you look at these relative valuation charts, you see some charts where you see potential outperformance and others in relative valuation where you see potential underperformance. Currently with Polygon Matic, it had such a nice run in the last weeks and months that it's expensive pretty much against everything else. And that makes it so problematic. That makes it very, very risky. Here's Matic relative to Phantom. Doesn't look as bad, but still, right? What I find so fascinating about these charts is that they're all very similar. They're all sideways trading ranges. So we very often see these rotations from one cryptocurrency to the next. And there's a lot of hype around a particular cryptocurrency. Then this hype dies down, and then that capital simply just moves to the next cryptocurrency. So at one point in time, it's in Matic. At the next point in time, it's in Phantom. And then again in Matic, again, then in Phantom. So there are these cycles. And the overall crypto market might not contract and expand that much, but simply because there are always these narratives that go around, right? These news that push the focus of cryptocurrency investors to a certain direction. That's why you see these waves within crypto. And that's the way how you can then write this, right? This again, Matic relative to Phantom doesn't look too great. Phantom does have a bit of support now again, right? Andre Cronje is writing quite a bit about Phantom. So there is potential there as well. This is Matic relative to AVAX, and here, same thing. So no matter what we look at, Matic tends to be expensive. And that's the main message in this video, right? The main message is you do not want to look just at the US dollar charts, because US dollar charts are very highly correlated. When you look at the Matic chart and you compare this to the Bitcoin chart, they are not that different. They have their highs in similar places, they have their lows in similar places, and they don't really matter that much. What really matters is where do you put the capital that you currently have, because the different investments, they are competing for that capital, and the capital is floating across those different investments. And that's why I don't want to just look at the US dollar valuation. The US dollar valuation makes sense if you want to ride these meta cycles, but then maybe rather look at Bitcoin and Ethereum at these longer term charts. And whenever you're considering what kind of altcoin to potentially rotate into, then the relative valuation charts make way more sense. Because in the end, why do you get into an altcoin, right? Why do you rather go into Matic than say Bitcoin? It's because you potentially see more upside there, right? You want to outperform Bitcoin. Otherwise, you can simply just park your money in the safest of the cryptocurrencies. But if you don't park it in the safest, it's because of potential outperformance. And so you have to look at the valuation in relative terms, not just in US dollar terms. And this, unfortunately, does not look great. So we will do again another video on Matic in a few weeks, and we will look at whether or not the price really follows those arrows. Nobody knows, nobody can for certain say that this happens, but it's always a game of odds, right? It's a game of what's more likely. Is it more likely that it's going to outperform or more likely that it's going to underperform? Do you really think that it's more likely that the price will suddenly break this very long-term trend and make these massive breakouts? Or do you think it's more likely that when there's currently not too much excitement within crypto, that we simply just stay in the ranges where we have been in for the last months and years? I think it's more likely that we simply just continue trading the way we have in the past. And yeah, that's currently those relative valuations, right? So be careful. What you might want to consider though is of course always the fundamentals. So there is a very interesting video on how Siemens, the large corporation, is now issuing bonds on the Polygon Matic blockchain. So feel free to check out the video over here. Feel also free to join our Telegram and our Discord. The links are down below. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye bye.